Harry spoke with Anderson Cooper about the emotional trauma following his mother's death and accused Camilla, now Queen Consort, of weaponizing.
There are moments in royal history that unfold before the world's eyes. Then there are moments that seem almost invisible at first. No dramatic announcement, no extraordinary ceremony, no official declaration that changes everything overnight. Yet somehow, the consequences reach every corner of the monarchy. Over the past several years, royal commentators have increasingly focused on one question that refuses to disappear. Has the balance of influence inside the royal family quietly begun to shift? Because while King Charles remains the reigning monarch, many observers have pointed to Prince William's growing constitutional responsibilities, his expanding public role, and a series of practical decisions that appear to reflect the priorities of the future king. At the same time, Queen Camilla has continued carrying out official duties as queen, alongside the king, representing the crown at engagements across the United Kingdom and abroad. On the surface, everything appears united. Every public appearance projects stability. Every balcony appearance reinforces continuity. Every carefully choreographed ceremony reminds the world that the institution moves forward together. But royal history has taught one important lesson. The biggest changes rarely begin in front of television cameras. They begin quietly, behind palace walls, through decisions that reveal who is trusted, who is consulted, and whose influence is beginning to fade. That is why recent discussions surrounding Queen Camilla have attracted so much attention. Not because Buckingham Palace has announced that she has been expelled from the royal family. It has not. Rather, because a number of commentators have questioned whether the future direction of the monarchy may place greater emphasis on the direct line of succession and a smaller group of working royals, raising fresh debate about how influence inside the institution could evolve over time. If that proves true, what does it mean for the Queen? And perhaps more importantly, what role will Prince William play in shaping the next chapter of the House of Windsor? Before we uncover the events that spark these questions, there's one thing worth asking. If you were preparing the future of the monarchy, would you prioritize tradition above personal relationships, or should family always come first? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd genuinely like to hear where you stand. And if you enjoy thoughtful royal documentaries that explore the history, public statements, and hidden context behind the headlines, subscribe to Royal Family Series so you don't miss the next chapter, where every royal decision tells a bigger story. To understand why these conversations have become so significant, you have to go back decades, long before Camilla became queen, long before King Charles ascended the throne, long before Prince William found himself preparing for the responsibilities that await every heir to the British crown. Few stories have shaped modern royal history more profoundly than the marriage of Charles and Diana. It was celebrated across the world, it inspired millions. But behind the grandeur, the relationship faced well-documented difficulties that eventually became public through interviews, biographies, and official events. When Diana, Princess of Wales, died in 1997, the tragedy transformed the royal family forever. For the nation, it was a moment of collective grief. For William, it was deeply personal. From that point forward, every stage of his public life unfolded beneath the shadow of that loss. Royal biographers have often suggested that those experiences helped shape his approach to duty, privacy, and family life. Over the years, William has consistently placed strong emphasis on protecting his own family from excessive public pressure while supporting causes connected to mental health, homelessness, emergency responders, and environmental innovation. Many commentators see those priorities as part of a broader vision for a modern monarchy. Meanwhile, Camilla's journey followed a very different path. Public opinion toward her evolved gradually over many years. What began as one of the most controversial chapters in modern royal history slowly changed as she took on increasing public duties, supported hundreds of charities, and eventually became queen following the accession of King Charles III. It was a transformation few could have predicted decades earlier. Yet even after years of public service, questions never completely disappeared. Not about her official role, but about where influence truly resides inside today's royal family. because constitutional authority, public responsibility, and personal influence are not always the same thing. And according to many royal observers, that distinction may hold the key to understanding one of the most fascinating power shifts the monarchy has experienced in recent years. The deeper this story goes, the clearer one remarkable pattern becomes. Because what happened next was never really about one person. It was about the future of the crown itself. For years, Queen Camilla's place within the British monarchy seemed almost impossible to imagine. There was a time when the idea itself would have been unthinkable. Public opinion was divided, emotions were raw, and the shadow of the past stretched across every royal headline. Long before she wore a crown, long before she stood beside King Charles at the coronation, Camilla's name had already become one of the most discussed in modern royal history. Her relationship with the then Prince Charles attracted intense public attention during the difficult years surrounding the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage. Those events were examined through biographies, televised interviews, newspaper investigations, and years of public debate. It was a chapter that changed the monarchy forever. For many people, Diana remained the emotional heart of the royal family. Her warmth, her compassion, her extraordinary connection with the public. Even decades after her death, that legacy continues to shape how many people view the monarchy today. Prince William has rarely spoken publicly about those deeply personal years. When he has, his focus has usually been on protecting his mother's memory, while encouraging a healthier approach to grief and mental well-being. Royal biographers have often suggested that those experiences profoundly influenced his understanding of duty, family, and public life. Whether every commentator agrees on the details is another matter, but one point attracts broad consensus. William's generation sees the future of the monarchy differently from previous generations. Not because tradition no longer matters, but because public confidence matters just as much. That became increasingly clear after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022. Her death marked the end of a 70-year reign and the beginning of a new constitutional era. King Charles III immediately assumed the throne. Prince William became Prince of Wales. And with that transition came far greater responsibility. Almost overnight, William inherited the Duchy of Cornwall, one of the country's largest private estates, along with the obligation to oversee its administration, finances, and long-term direction. It was more than a ceremonial change. It was preparation for kingship. Since then, William has spoken publicly about modernizing parts of the institution while preserving the traditions that give the monarchy its unique identity. Observers have watched closely. Every appointment, every engagement, every charitable initiative, every decision. Not because each one changes the monarchy overnight, but because together they reveal the priorities of the future king. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla has continued carrying out hundreds of official engagements, supporting literacy initiatives, domestic violence awareness, osteoporosis charities, and military organizations. Her workload has remained significant, so has her visibility. Yet constitutional reality is changing. As King Charles continues his reign, attention naturally turns toward the generation that will eventually succeed him. That shift has prompted a wider public conversation, not about replacing one royal with another, but about influence. Who will shape the institution? Whose vision will define the next era? Royal commentators frequently return to one phrase first championed during Charles's years as Prince of Wales: a slimmed-down monarchy. The concept has been discussed for decades: a smaller group of senior working royals, greater efficiency, clearer public roles, lower long-term costs. Supporters argue that such an approach reflects modern expectations. Critics worry it places increasing pressure on fewer family members. Whatever position people take, one thing is certain: every decision made today is viewed through the lens of tomorrow. And that is precisely why even routine changes inside the royal household often generate extraordinary interest, because they may reveal something much bigger than they first appear. The deeper royal observers looked, the more they began asking whether the future monarchy was already quietly taking shape. And one series of decisions, widely discussed across royal reporting, would soon intensify that debate in ways few had anticipated. By now, one thing had become increasingly clear: The conversation surrounding the modern monarchy was no longer focused solely on who wore the crown. It was becoming a conversation about who would define its future. And in that discussion, Prince William occupied a unique position. He was no longer simply the heir apparent. He was becoming the bridge between two royal eras, one shaped by Queen Elizabeth II's remarkable 70-year reign, the other still waiting to be written. That transition carried enormous expectations, not only from the British public, but from the Commonwealth, government leaders, charities, the media, and millions of people around the world who continue to follow the royal family with extraordinary interest. Every appearance, every speech, every engagement, every decision, each one was examined for clues about the monarchy's direction. Among the most closely watched questions was how William envisioned the institution once he eventually became king. Unlike previous generations, William has often placed significant emphasis on issues that resonate with younger audiences: mental health, environmental innovation, support for emergency responders, homelessness, community partnerships. His projects have consistently reflected a desire to connect the monarchy with practical challenges facing modern society. Royal commentators frequently describe this as a more focused style of leadership, less ceremonial, more outcome-driven. At the same time, King Charles has continued advancing priorities he championed long before becoming monarch: climate sustainability, interfaith dialogue, architecture, conservation. The result is an unusual period in royal history. Two generations actively shaping the public image of the crown at the same time. It is a delicate balance, one that requires continuity without standing still. Throughout this period, Queen Camilla has remained an important part of the king's public program. Her work promoting literacy, supporting libraries, raising awareness of osteoporosis, and advocating for survivors of domestic abuse has continued across the United Kingdom and overseas. Her schedule reflects the responsibilities expected of a senior working royal. Officially, there has been no suggestion that her constitutional role has diminished. Yet outside the palace, public discussion has continued, not because of formal announcements, but because constitutional transitions naturally encourage questions about influence. Royal historians often point out that influence inside the monarchy has never depended solely on titles. It also depends on relationships, experience, public confidence, and the priorities of each generation. That helps explain why commentators so often examine William's public decisions alongside those of the king, not to suggest disagreement, but to understand how leadership evolves over time. History offers many examples. When Queen Elizabeth II became monarch in 1952, Britain was entering a completely different age. Television was transforming communication. The Commonwealth was changing. Society itself was evolving. Her reign adapted across 7 decades while preserving the institution's core traditions. King Charles inherited a monarchy facing different challenges: digital media, instant global scrutiny, changing public expectations, growing demands for transparency. Now William is preparing for challenges that may be different again: artificial intelligence, climate resilience, economic uncertainty, the expectations of younger generations, the monarchy's relevance in an increasingly fast-moving world. Preparing for those challenges requires careful planning long before a new reign begins. That preparation is already visible, not through dramatic speeches, but through years of steady work. Each charitable initiative, each community visit, each strategic project, each partnership. Viewed individually, they appear routine. Viewed together, they begin to reveal a philosophy, a monarchy that remains rooted in tradition, while demonstrating practical value in everyday life. That vision has earned praise from many observers. Others argue that balancing modernization with centuries of royal custom will never be straightforward. Both perspectives reflect an important truth. The monarchy has always evolved, sometimes slowly, sometimes unexpectedly, but always under the weight of history. Perhaps that is why discussions involving Queen Camilla continue to generate such strong public interest. Her own journey has mirrored the changing fortunes of the institution itself. From one of the most scrutinized public figures in Britain to Queen Consort, it has been a transformation shaped by decades rather than months. Yet even today, opinions remain diverse. Some see her as a dedicated public servant who gradually earned greater acceptance through consistent work. Others continue viewing her role through the lens of events that unfolded decades earlier. Those differing perspectives are unlikely to disappear, and William understands that reality better than most. His challenge is not to rewrite history, it is to guide the institution through it. That means respecting the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, supporting the reign of King Charles III, honoring the memory of Diana, Princess of Wales, and preparing the crown for generations who will judge the monarchy by entirely different standards. It is an extraordinary responsibility, one that leaves little room for impulsive decisions. Instead, it demands patience, consistency, and a willingness to think decades ahead. The deeper royal experts looked at William's long-term approach. The more one conclusion appeared again and again. He was not simply preparing for his future role, he was quietly preparing the institution itself. And that raised one final question. If today's decisions are laying the foundation for tomorrow's monarchy, what kind of royal family does William ultimately hope to leave behind? The answer may be found not in headlines, but in the legacy he is already beginning to build. The closer observers looked at the modern monarchy, the clearer one reality became. The future would not be decided by a single speech, or a single ceremony, or even a single reign. It would be shaped by the choices made long before the crown changed hands. That is why Prince William's public work has attracted such close attention from constitutional experts and royal historians alike. They are not simply watching the Prince of Wales, they are watching a future sovereign preparing his philosophy of leadership, and that preparation is already visible, not through dramatic headlines, but through consistency. Again and again, William has returned to the same principle: service must have purpose. Throughout recent years, his major initiatives have reflected that belief. His Homewards program seeks long-term solutions to homelessness by bringing together local authorities, charities, businesses, and community organizations. His Earthshot Prize continues encouraging innovation to address environmental challenges on a global scale. His work supporting mental health has expanded through partnerships with charities, emergency services, and healthcare professionals. Taken individually, each project serves a different cause. Viewed together, they reveal something much larger, a vision of a monarchy measured not simply by tradition, but by practical contribution. Royal commentators often describe this as a significant evolution, rather than a break with the past. Queen Elizabeth II demonstrated stability. King Charles has championed long-term environmental and cultural causes. William appears focused on measurable social impact. Different generations, different priorities, yet all connected by the same constitutional role. This gradual evolution has naturally encouraged discussion about the wider royal family. Who will continue representing the crown? How many working royals will be needed in the decades ahead? What balance should exist between public expectations and private family life? These questions have become increasingly important as the institution adapts to changing circumstances. Several senior members of the royal family now carry extensive workloads across hundreds of engagements each year. As generations change, responsibility must also be redistributed. That reality has prompted continuing discussion about the concept of a streamlined monarchy. Supporters argue that a smaller group of senior working royals creates greater clarity and accountability. Others believe additional family members may eventually need to assume larger public roles to meet growing demands. Neither perspective has been formally adopted as official policy beyond public discussions of efficiency and modernization. Instead, the debate continues, and every major public appearance adds another chapter. Queen Camilla remains an important part of that conversation. Since becoming queen, she has maintained a demanding program of engagements while continuing to support causes she has championed for many years. Her literacy initiatives have encouraged reading among children and adults alike. Her work highlighting domestic abuse has brought sustained attention to an issue affecting communities across the country. She has represented the crown at state occasions, remembrance ceremonies, overseas visits, and countless charitable events. Those contributions form part of the historical record. Yet public perception of any senior royal is shaped by more than official duties. it is also influenced by history, memory, personal experience, and the stories each generation inherits. For some, Camilla's journey represents resilience and gradual public acceptance. For others, memories of the turbulent years surrounding the end of Charles and Diana's marriage remain impossible to separate from later events. Both perspectives continue to exist. That complexity is one reason the royal family remains the subject of such enduring fascination. It is not merely an institution, it is also a family whose personal relationships unfold beneath extraordinary public scrutiny. William understands that reality better than most. From childhood, he has lived through periods of intense media attention, personal loss, national expectation, and constitutional responsibility. Those experiences have shaped a leadership style that many describe as careful, disciplined, and forward-looking. He rarely responds publicly to speculation. He seldom comments on private family matters. Instead, he focuses on public service. That restraint has become one of his defining characteristics. It also explains why royal commentators frequently analyze actions rather than words when assessing his approach. Every visit, every initiative, every appointment, every partnership, together, they begin to outline the priorities of the future king. At the same time, King Charles continues fulfilling the constitutional responsibilities of the sovereign while adapting the monarchy to contemporary Britain. Father and son now occupy different constitutional roles, but they share a common objective: maintaining confidence in one of the world's oldest institutions. History suggests that every successful royal transition depends upon continuity as much as change. The strongest monarchies preserve what gives them stability while adapting to the expectations of a new generation. That balance has never been easy, nor has it ever been more visible. As Britain looks toward the future, attention increasingly turns not only to today's engagements, but to tomorrow's leadership. Who will carry forward the institution? How will the next generation define public service? And what legacy will today's decisions leave behind? Those questions reach far beyond individual personalities. They speak to the future of the House of Windsor itself, because the greatest test of any monarchy is not whether it can survive one difficult chapter, it is whether it can continue earning public confidence through the generations that follow. And as historians often remind us, the true significance of a royal era is rarely understood while it is happening. Only with time does the larger picture begin to emerge. As the next chapter approached, one final question remained. When history looks back on this remarkable period of transition, what will it remember most? The headlines, or the quiet decisions that slowly reshape the future of the crown? That answer was only just beginning to reveal itself.
It should also reinforce the central premise without introducing unsupported claims. Looking back across everything that has unfolded, one truth stands out above all the headlines. The story was never really about one individual. It was never simply about Queen Camilla, nor was it only about Prince William. It was about an institution that has survived for more than 1,000 years because it has continually adapted while holding firmly to its traditions. That delicate balance has defined every reign, every generation, every transition. And today is no different. As King Charles III continues his reign, the royal family finds itself navigating one of the most closely watched periods in its modern history. Public expectations continue to evolve. Media scrutiny remains relentless. Every appearance is analyzed. Every decision is debated. Every gesture is interpreted through the lens of history. Yet behind the headlines, the daily work of the monarchy continues. State visits, community engagements, charitable initiatives, military ceremonies, meetings with world leaders, the steady rhythm of public service that rarely attracts the same attention as moments of controversy. Prince William increasingly represents the future that many people are already beginning to imagine. His leadership style has been shaped by personal experience, constitutional responsibility, and years of preparation under both Queen Elizabeth II and King Charles III. He has consistently spoken about creating long-term solutions to social challenges rather than short-term headlines. His projects on homelessness, environmental innovation, mental health, and community resilience all point toward a vision of public service that seeks measurable impact alongside royal tradition. Whether that vision ultimately defines his reign will only be answered by history.
Queen Camilla's journey has been equally remarkable in its own way. From one of the most controversial figures in modern royal history to Queen Consort, her path has been unlike any other. Over time, she has built an extensive program of charitable work, particularly in literacy, osteoporosis awareness, domestic abuse prevention, and support for military families. Those contributions now form an established part of her public legacy. Yet history reminds us that public opinion is rarely simple. The royal family exists at the intersection of tradition, memory, national identity, and personal emotion. Different generations remember different moments. Some remember celebration, others remember heartbreak. Many remember both. That is precisely why conversations about the monarchy continue long after individual events have passed, because every chapter is connected to the one before it. The legacy of Queen Elizabeth II still shapes today's institution. The memory of Diana, Princess of Wales, continues to resonate with millions around the world. King Charles is defining his own reign. Prince William is preparing for responsibilities that will one day become his. And beyond them, another generation is gradually stepping into public life. History never truly stands still. It simply turns another page. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson hidden within this remarkable period of royal transition. The future of the monarchy will not be determined by one headline, not by one newspaper story, not by one moment of public debate. It will be shaped by years of careful decisions, public service, constitutional duty, and the ability to maintain public confidence through changing times. That process is already underway. Every engagement, every speech, every charitable visit, every constitutional responsibility quietly contributes to the next chapter of the House of Windsor. And that is what makes following the royal family so fascinating. The biggest developments are not always the loudest. Sometimes they unfold gradually. Sometimes their significance only becomes clear years later. Sometimes the smallest detail becomes the beginning of the biggest story. That is why careful observation matters. Context matters. History matters. Because when we understand where the monarchy has been, we gain a clearer picture of where it may be heading next. As this chapter comes to an end, one thing remains certain. The story of the British royal family is far from over. New generations are emerging, new responsibilities are taking shape, new challenges will test one of the world's oldest constitutional institutions. And with every passing month, new developments continue to unfold that deserve thoughtful analysis, historical context, and careful discussion. If you've enjoyed exploring this story with us, we'd love for you to become part of the Royal Family Series community. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next documentary, where we'll continue separating verified history from speculation, examining the people behind the headlines, and uncovering the deeper context behind the events shaping today's monarchy. And before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Which member of the royal family do you think will have the greatest influence on the monarchy over the next decade? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Some of the most insightful discussions happen there, and your perspective could become part of our next conversation. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this journey, and thank you for your continued curiosity about one of the world's most enduring institutions. Until next time, this has been Royal Family Series, where every royal story has a history, and every history has another chapter waiting to be told.